Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the CMJC webinar series, Healing Through the Arts. Before we get started, I want to say thank you all for joining, and we're going to see a quick video before we get to the presenters.
What up, bro?
Yo, what's good? What's going on? Hey, yo, I ain't gonna lie, you gonna have to back up though and give me 6 feet or something. You know, Rona out here wildin'. Yo, ain't no disrespect to the homie Vision or whatever, but I ain't trying to catch the Rona. The Rona out here going crazy.
Wow, bro, you serious? I'm measuring tape. You dragged it. I was like a tape measure for real. Like, I know this is serious, but he played too much. Like,
Yo, what up, bro? What up, bro?
What's good, my boy?
What's good, boy?
what's up, bro? Yo, post me that thing, bro. Look, I'm gonna need 6 feet, bro. Facts.
Yo, son, did she really just pull out a measuring tape on me? It's crazy.
What's up? What's up, y'all? What's up? I know 6 feet. I ain't stupid. Yeah, I gotta do the social distancing. I have to, cause gotta stay safe. 6 feet is no joke. I gotta protect him. Make sure he don't get it. Make sure he don't, be sick. It's real out here. I know this dude named Tristan. Like he around my age, and he got it.
My name is Tristan. When I first found out I had COVID-19, it was hard for me to smell and everything I ate tasted the same. It was hard for me to breathe. I had to quarantine 14 days by myself. Now, I didn't feel good. I didn't know what was going on. And I was scared to go get tested because I didn't want them to say yes. I see so many people dying. Call Mattel. I called Bill. Bill helped me through it. He stepped me through what I got to do. He made me not go insane, go crazy, kept me calm. Yeah, anybody can get this in the air. It's spreadable. And just like me, I was lucky I beat it. Not everybody that lucky. I don't want everybody to take that risk.
A boy do what he want to do, but a man do what he have to do. What I don't like about social distancing is, that we be having to wear a mask every day. It's safe, so, I just wear it.
Social distancing is a very serious thing because you don't know the type of consequences this has against like young people and older people. You can go outside, you can touch something, pick up something, touch money, and then go back home, and then you could transfer the COVID-19 to your nephew, your grandmother, your grandfather, or your father.
A girl does what she wanna do, and a woman does what she needs to do. I do miss giving handshakes and hugs. And this elbow thing, like, that's not love.
Right now, we have to, continue to social distance so we can be safe.
And right now, we need to be responsible.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Tiffany Branch. I am program coordinator for the Credible Messenger Justice Center. I'm super excited today. We have a wonderful lineup for you all. Thanks for joining CMJC's spring webinar, Healing Through the Arts. I'm going to introduce a colleague of mine, Belinda Ramos, who is Curriculum Specialist at Community Connections for Youth. She's going to go more into detail about today's webinar and introduce the presenters. Thank you. Belinda?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I am seeing names of people popping into the webinar, and I'm excited about everybody who's here, and just thankful for the opportunity to help, moderate an awesome discussion around something that I myself feel pretty passionate about. I've been with Community Connections for Youth for the last 7 years, but before that, I was working with young people as well in the Bronx. Through the arts. And so I'm excited about this topic, healing through arts. We've been having webinars and just thinking about all the ways that the Credible Messenger work, all the reaches that it has. And so today's conversation, Healing Through the Arts, is really about us having a conversation about the opportunity that the arts provides. We have 4 people today who are doing that work. We have Artists Up, Nicole, I know is Nicole as well, Creative Director, Miss Abby's Kids. We have Joseph Sanchez, who's Cultural Specialist, Thais Brown, who is amplifying the voices of young people, and Dave Johnson, our Poet in Residence for Department of Probation. And we're gonna hear about the work that they're doing, really to just, use the arts really to liberate, to bring young people into their piece, to share their words, to create change. And so I think today what I want to invite you to do is be prepared to ask questions. We know we have folks from different places in the country or even in the area that are either looking for ways to bring something like this because they see the benefit in the arts and what the arts uniquely do above and beyond our standard programming, get ideas, be inspired. So I want to invite you. We have a chat. I know I see this afternoon, everybody's saying hello. Stay engaged there. What we're going to first do is just listen to the presenters, but feel free to offer your questions, your reactions, your thumbs up, your yes, that's right. It's all in there. We're just trying to build a community online right now as we hear about the awesome work everybody's doing. And once we hear from everybody, we're going to have a panel discussion and open the floor for questions and conversation. So first up, I want to invite Artist Up, who is going to be presenting on her work. Hi, Nicole.
Peace, peace. Thank you so much. First, I just want to say I'm happy and excited to be in a space with like-minded individuals who continue to push the culture and the work forward as it's really, really important. So thank you for that. Just want to say that. So I'll start off a bit about talking about my journey and how I ended up in the work and dealing with the arts. So I'm a Bronx bred artist, spoken word artist, actor, community activist, credible messenger, teacher, but most importantly, a lover of life. I started behind the microphone, public speaking since I was 9 years old, speaking to my peers in school about sustaining relationships and building networks and the importance of it. And just how to survive in a violence-plagued community where resources were lacking and things may not be that clear. And so that's where I started through 9 years old. I've always written poetry. I find it very healing, hence healing through the arts. I find it very healing, and since then I've started working in prisons and treatment facilities with youth and adults as well, teaching poetry and public speaking. And the journey has been so amazing. I've met so many amazing people who just needed a way to express themselves and know that their message wanted to be heard. And that was really cool. So I'm going to jump into some poetry. And the first piece I'm going to do, this is like my signature piece. It is a piece that I won the Apollo Theater with. I'm able to change it quite often. When you hear it, you understand why it's not like such a great thing to be able to change names in this piece and for it to still be relevant. But as a people, I believe that we are working toward me putting this piece of poetry to rest and no longer having to do it. So first I'm going to do that, and then I'll jump into some freestyle poetry. So get your words ready, because I am a freestyle poet. So put your words in the chat, get them ready, and they'll let me know what words are out there. So this piece is titled, They Run. America. Depending on how you spell it, ICA or KKK, makes all the difference to the end of your day. America, where babies are assassinated for buying Skittles and iced tea, yet their murderers get to walk scot-free. America, where there's a Nipsey in every hood near you, but they don't get supported because the media has to tell you who's who. America, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, except Ma'Khia Bryant, George Floyd, Tamir Rice, Eric Gardner, Khalif Browder, Sandra Bland, Tanya Connor, and Junior Black. Get the dogs, the coloreds is coming. They run. Hey, those parts you don't belong around, boy. They run. Hey, that water you drinking ain't for colored folk. They run. The fire burns from Emmett Lewis Till to Philando Castile. The pain, even I feel, is real. Unfortunately, 1985 wasn't here enough to stop the blood of my ancestors overspilled. So 30 years later, I run. But not from the dogs, or crossing the white folk property, or drinking from the fountain labeled whites only. I run for my unborn's possibility. I run for the youth I teach. I run for my niece, who I know I've already reached. I'm humbled by modern day kings like my son Lennon, who march making it clear: no justice, no peace, no racist police is not just part of a speech. And modern day queens like Shaniqua Charles, who remind us on a daily that we don't have nothing to lose but our chains. You see, your permission doesn't need to be given. I run to rid myself of misguided traditions. No more sitting around the table under the pretenses that thanks was given. No more leaving cookies and milk for old Saint Nick, because the exchange of priceless gifts for 7 days is what I'm with. I ran right into my consciousness, with every experience leaving me a tighter grip. Ashe. So that's They Run, and I'll give you guys a few words of freestyle poetry. So hopefully your words are in the chat, and they'll let me know what your words are, so I can choose some words to freestyle from. So I'm kind of like the Whoopi Goldberg of poetry. If you saw that movie Ghost, where Patrick Swayze was going through Whoopi. So that's really what we're gonna do.
Nicole, I know you can hear me, but so I think you see in the chat too. So folks, there we have it. The word liberate.
Liberate. Okay. I can't see the chat.
Okay, I got you then.
Okay.
We got liberate as the first one.
Okay. Liberate. Let my people go. Wait a minute. Liberate. Don't hold me in the first place. I don't want to scream, let my people go. I want to be free. Free in a world that is prison free, not free within your parentheses. You see, because as a beast behind the mic, I also understand the love in the heart of the mic. Let my people go. Liberate. Liberate me to be free. Free. Not free with the tag. Not free with the course, not free with if you do this, then I will. I said free. Liberate me. Liberate my people. Liberate us all, because together we can be free. Liberate.
Let's go with somebody here has offered transformation.
Okay. Is there any more in there?
Yeah, I'll give them to you. I'll give them all to you right now. Transformation, healing, resilience, elevate.
Okay. Transformation, healing, resilience. Healing. Funny, this is called healing through the arts. And what it does is it transforms people from one place to the next. I said from that broken place in your soul to the place where you get to flex. Not be vain, but be cool, but be true, but to run true blood through the veins in you. Healing. Heal me through the arts. Take me back to that place where I was like, let my people go. I think you heard what I said. I'm a beast behind the microphone. As a matter of fact, come fly with me. Take me to that place where healing is something we no longer have to do because we have all been healed. And the pain is a memory like Men in Black, where they Men in Black you and they put that beeper in your face and you no longer remember the pain that was bestowed upon you. Take me away. Don't be vain. Remember what I said. Remember the truth in the words, because as a poet, I am just that, truth. Come heal with me. Make sure you're liberated. Be vain in the sense of pumping truth through you to them, as I am for us, community, healing. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So, so thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you. Again, of course, we're all going to be here. I can't wait to the Q&A and to hear what everybody else has to offer. I'm Artist Up again, and you can find me. You can find the piece I did, They Run, on all platforms. And I also have Marked as Your Territory, which talks about sexual healing and being able to speak up and speak out and let our voices be heard because it saves lives. So let's keep healing through the arts. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much. Every time I hear you, I'm just amazed at how you're just so, like, you speak from your spirit and you're so ready. I know maybe you're not seeing the chat room or you're seeing out right now, but a lot of people are just reacting to the beauty of your words and the expression of your spirit. So I'm thankful. And we're going to go over now to Joseph Watson, who's a cultural specialist. He's going to be talking about the lived experience of young people and the work he's done through the arts. Joseph, you're up. Welcome.
Yes, doing. Thank you for having me. Healing through the arts, and it was the first time I checked you out. Nice to meet you, and that poetry was crazy. But thanks for sharing. But anyway, like Belinda said, my name is Joseph Sanchez. I'm a cultural specialist, and today I'm going to be presenting Joe, which means Who Am I? Workshop series. That so Joe should have question mark there. I'm going to fire my assistant, which is myself. But anyway, so I'm going to be introducing the Cancel Joe workshop. But before I do that, I'll give you a little idea of who I am. I'm dealing with some allergies here, and my throat and my eyes are itchy. But yes, so next slide, please. Yes, so again, I'm Joseph Sanchez. I was born and raised in New York City, in Washington Heights. I grew up in hip hop culture, which means I grew up in a breakdancing crew. I grew up DJing, throwing parties with my brother and with the crew, with our crew. Our crew was cool. Our crew was called DTB, Down to Break. We evolved into MCing and rapping, so we started rapping. And I ended up in college, in John Jay College. I got a criminology degree. I also was part of the New York City Housing Police Cadet Corps. In 1993 to 1995, I patrolled the streets of the South Bronx. It was a very interesting experience. I decided not to go into the police department. I went back to John Jay and got myself a conflict resolution certificate. And I started teaching at Rikers Island, at Spotsford, and other alternative to detention facilities around New York City. I used to work for Hospital Audiences Incorporated. We pretty much built that violence prevention program over there. This is like mid 90s, and excuse me. I also worked at Covenant House, and I did a lot of community development work with Alianza Dominicana. I was the director of the Police Athletic League. Also in the Bronx, I managed the Webster and the Longfellow centers. And I was hired in 2004 by the New York City Parks Department to be the catalyst coordinator. That picture that you see with Bloomberg, that was the day that Bloomberg granted and committed $60 million to the High Bridge Project. For those that don't know, the High Bridge Project is the oldest bridge in New York City, and it's the first aqueduct system of New York. 2008, for Bloomberg granted us $60 million for the reopening of the High Bridge. Picture in the center is me at the Bronx River Alliance organizing a community event, and the other picture is me as an adjunct professor for CUNY at Bronx J College, teaching criminology and youth and justice. I'm also a student at Teachers College now. I'm doing a doctorate program in public health. So just to give you a little background of Quien Soy Yo, Quien Soy Yo is a project that really was developed organically. My friend from the music industry, he called me up one day. One of the youths from his neighborhood that used to live in his building, that he got locked up. He got locked up for some gang activity, guns, and a little bit of drugs. He ended up getting sentenced for 7 years. Excuse me. And my friend started mentoring him, committing to the phone calls, committing to visits, going upstate to see him at least once a month. Sending him packages, and even send him a drum machine. And while the boy's his name was Trig. He got locked up. Trig was able to work with in his cell, and he learned how to make beats, and he learned how to rap by my friend mentoring him through the phone and on visits. Anyway, long story short, they eventually ended up making creating 10, and they called the collection of songs Quien Soy Yo, which is who am I? And there was 10 songs that take us through a journey of his experience through the criminal justice system. And when he let me hear the songs, I said to myself, wow, this could be, I could teach this. This is teaching material. We could teach this to the kids in anywhere, in alternative to detention sites, or the kids that we work with. So I took the songs and I created 10 workshops based on each song. Excuse me. And I have to apologize for not having the songs for you guys. I went on a mission to try to find them, and they're lost in some other hard drive somewhere. I promise to send you guys the music just so you guys can hear the music. And I think it'll be interesting to hear the music after you get the content, because you're going to be able to connect it the other way around, which is for workshops. And this is the music. Which one came to that music, and I'm going to share the workshops with you guys. The process went through a mentoring program, through a process of mentoring this youth. Created the music, I created the workshops, and then we finally got funded by a couple of different foundations and community-based organizations, excuse me, to implement the program. A couple of times, implemented it up also with Columbia University to do an evaluation for the program, which we didn't really finalize, and that's something that I would like to get back to next time I implement these workshops. So that's the process. I'm going to try not to be boring. I don't have exciting slides. So that's going to be a little difficult, but hopefully you guys will get the picture. The first workshop is a self-awareness workshop. Excuse me. So this workshop is about the daily routines. The album starts with this song, and it's about him rolling out of bed and getting some win, beating up with the guys in the corner, getting into some trouble, and getting picked up by the cops. So the song is a very creative production song because it gives you the whole setting of the environment of the living. But in the workshop, what I focused on was who am I? I gave everybody an opportunity to hear their daily experiences and their daily routines and asked them, how does that make you up as a I also handed out mirrors and I told them to write down on a piece of paper um who they are, what do they see when they see themselves, what are their strengths and what are their ambitions and inspirations. That's the first workshop. Who am I? Is a self-awareness workshop, and it's called Doing My Thing. Workshop 2. Workshop 2 is called In Me My Hood, and it's a self-awareness workshop. Again, in this workshop, I take out a value, just run through value statements. Like, for example, it's cool for me to smoke weed in the morning, or it's cool for me to carry a gun, or it's cool for me to call a girl a B word, or it's cool for me to, I'll run through different value statements. Participants decide if they agree with it. Don't know, and it gives us an opportunity to talk about the values and why values change. After somebody else shares their experience with that value, somebody might say, "Oh, and they'll go and hello, can you hear
Yeah,
me?
we hear you.
Should I
But
continue?
yeah, keep going. When you take your video off, it actually improves the connection, so we can still hear you. We're just looking at your slides.
Got it. Thank you. All right, so I'm on workshop 3. The workshop 3 is self-empowerment. It's Cerrándome el Mundo is what it's called. And I'm sorry, I got a little twisted here. And this is, again, a self-empowerment workshop. And in this workshop, I focus on the stages of change, which is pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, and termination. I teach them about the stages of change, and I put them through an experience where they could dialogue about the cycles of change and talk about how they've been through change. So workshop 4. Workshop 4 is No Sé Por Qué. It's a song to his girlfriend where he's asking her why. I don't understand. I don't understand why you want to break up with me. And in the workshop, I offer them the opportunity to talk about their relationship status. And we create role plays that gives them the opportunity to practice talking about their relationship status. And the kids really enjoy that, and they get a lot out of it. Workshop 5. Workshop 5 is Sácame de Aquí. It's a song about him crying out to set him free while he's in his cell, and the anger that he experiences while he's crying out to be set free. In the workshop, I take them again through the cycle of anger, which is how do you feel, why do you feel, what do you do with your anger once you feel it, and I offer the youth an opportunity to express the anger in a safe way, whether it's getting physical or writing or singing or dancing, whatever the case is. It's an opportunity to express your anger for this workshop number 5. Workshop number 6 is Imagínate, which means imagine that visualization experience where they see themselves 10 years from now, and then I have the 10-year older self talk back to their present self and give them advice, enlightening experience that the youth experience during this workshop. Workshop number 6 is Imagínate, because he's imagining himself in jail, what it's going to be like for him to get out of jail and be in workshop 7. It's Pensando en Ti. He's writing to his mother and he's writing to his family members about how it's going to be when he gets back and what. And in the workshop, I do role plays again, and I create scenarios where older brothers are talking to little brothers about giving them good advice, and also little brothers talk about things that they need. So I create this opportunity for them to communicate and practice their language and their things in front. Workshop number 8. Voy a salir, which means I'm coming out, and it's again a family relationship workshop. I break them up into groups, and I create different settings again, one in school, one at work, and I get them to think about what does it take to integrate into this type of environment. What does it take to adjust to school, to adjust to work, and to adjust to be participating in. Workshop number 9 is called Lagrime, which is the grind. And again, this one is about the cycle, how to conflict resolute their own self-conflict by taking them through the cycle of how do you feel, what's the data, why do you feel like that, what's the judgment, and what do you need as a kinship. So this workshop focuses on conflict resolution and self-conflict resolution. And finally, but not least, workshop number 10 is called Las Reglas, which means the rules. And at this workshop, I really tried to just wrap up the workshop series. I usually like to wrap it up in another workshop, the 11th workshop, which would be a celebration of everything. It'll be a celebration of expression. And I get for all to celebrate what they've learned. But in this workshop, we talk about and we analyze and we learn, your visions, your values, your goals, your mission, your affirmation, if you came up with one. And those are the rules that you have gained from this workshop and that you're going to take out to the world. The workshop series in a nutshell. I'm open to questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joseph. I think you can see me. You can bring your camera up. It was just helpful to kind of get you a little more in real time with your audio. But first of all, I am excited about moving over to the panel and to some of the Q&A at the end, because I know personally I was really fascinated by how you took those topics and turned it into something creative and renaming it and using the cultural reference of in Spanish. And I just think there's so many amazing elements to that. And you're getting a lot of props here. And so we'll ask some questions of you directly when we come back at the end. So I just want to thank you, and amazing workshop, amazing work. All right, we'll come back to you, and we're going to move on now to Thais Brown. And so Thais, are you there? We're excited to hear your presentation. Good afternoon.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. I think we're going to get started with the video, but I just want to say good afternoon to all of you, and I want to thank the Credible Messenger Justice Center for giving me an opportunity to share my work with all of you this afternoon. And I appreciate so very much my talented colleagues, Artists Up, also known as Nicole, Joseph, and Dave. And I'm looking forward to our conversation later on this afternoon. I'm going to start by telling you about my work with youth in Brooklyn. And then in the second half of this presentation, I will close with some of our youth's creative arts work. As stated, I'm Thais Brown, Clinical Director in the Education Department at Riseboro Community Partnership in Brooklyn, New York. Founded in 1973, Riseboro offers services designed to meet the needs of communities and to support every generation. Our divisions include seniors, housing, education, health, and empowerment. Our unique model of holistic community revitalization works by developing neighborhoods' assets, to strengthen the foundation of already existing vibrant communities. We build upon this foundation with programs designed to connect people to resources and to help everyone in the community thrive, especially youth, who are among the most vulnerable of our populations. Located in Bushwick, our education division provides numerous after-school, evening, weekend, summer, and employment training programs for youth throughout Brooklyn. While I supervise a few of the programs at the Riseboro Youth Center, it is my distinct pleasure to share the work that we do in Sister Sage and Lyric this afternoon. Next slide, please. Before I continue, it's important to note that all the work throughout this presentation was produced and created by 14 to 17-year-old Black girls from Brooklyn over the past 2 years. This collage is entitled Black Culture and Excellence. I've worked in the education division at Riseboro for 21 years. Over the course of my tenure, I've been an after-school program director. You can go back to the previous slide. A summer camp co-director, and currently I am clinical director of a youth counseling and substance abuse prevention program. Early in my career, I taught a stepping and dance class at the Riseboro's Beacon program. And before I entered my first class, I was forewarned by a teacher that the group I was going to be assigned would be difficult and problematic. She told me the girls assigned to my class had been kicked out of the other programs, the other elective classes for insubordination, being disruptive, and not following directions. While I entered the class, the girls were curious and very direct. They asked, "Who are you? Where are you from? Who taught you how to step? What are you? Why are you wearing a blouse, dress, and pants, as well as heels to teach us how to dance?" I told them I was from Pennsylvania, that I had just graduated from graduate school, and that they were my first class, and that I had learned to step from my sorority sisters in college, and that I was dressed that way because I was a new professional and wanted to be taken seriously. And so many of the girls cheered out loud when I told them that I was Black. And then I later understood that many of their teachers did not look like them, that they did not share their cultural identities, nor did they have trusting and authentic relationships with those teachers. During the first class, I changed into sneakers and taught the class in my dress clothes. Girls were responsive and open to learning the choreography and were nothing like the teacher described to me. The behaviors the teacher labeled as problematic and insubordinate were normal. The girls were displaying developmentally appropriate behaviors as children. They were testing boundaries to cultivate their identities and to see how I would engage or disengage with them. Our roles as mentors in third spaces are to meet youth where they are and not assume that we always know what youth need better than what they know they need. Third spaces are what McKittrick refers to as poetic landscapes, spaces where Black girls' creative expressions reflect their identities, their distinct perspectives, and lived experiences. They only wanted to know my story and wanted to be able to tell their stories on their own terms. On that day, I learned third spaces, which again is the space outside of school and the space outside of their homes, need to be spaces where youth are respected, where they can be children, where their cultures are mirrored, and where their voices and choices are integrated into the program design and activities. And where I got to know the girls and their stories, it was harder for me to understand why they would be excluded from the classes for asking questions or constructively challenging authority figures. I understood that intelligent people ask a lot of questions and that I as an adult was not above reproach, so they could certainly ask me any questions that they had of me. It seemed that the girls were excluded from class due to their teachers' arbitrary and subjective assessments of their behavior and communication styles. The Black girls, in contrast to their counterparts, were definitely being misread. The girls needed a safe space to learn more about themselves and the world around them. We needed to center their positionalities and creative experiences as critical resistances that disrupt assumptions that others make about who Black girls are in school, at home, and other third spaces. I realized that the girls needed more than just a dance class, and so in 2002, we created Sister Sage, Strengthening Advocacy for Girls Empowerment, which is a third space that spoke specifically to Black girls' interests and needs. Next slide, please. Sister Sage is an inclusive empowerment program that provides youth who identify with girlhood a safe space to experience intensive personal development through service, sisterhood, self-exploration, and cultural empowerment. Our living curriculum is created with the participants. We generate content areas from what is important to the youth in real time and maintain a consistent feedback loop to monitor the relevance of our discussions and meetings. We cultivate their critical thinking and leadership building skills. We do not use scripted curriculum or evidence-based interventions. because we understand that many of those models are not designed with Black girls centered, nor are all evidence-based models applicable to our targeted and specific work. Our parallel family systems model provides youth with a safe space to connect with other youth and mentors as a second family. The program maintains a structured safe space for youth to engage in supportive relationships, to experience opportunities to belong, and strengthen cohesiveness between family, school, and community. Our current program director, who's pictured here to the far left in the green shirt, joined the program when she was 14 years old. I won't tell her age now, but now she runs the program. And the program coordinator is a former participant as well. They both have come full circle and now are running the program that they belong to as adolescents. The culturally informed focus of the program focuses on creative arts, service learning, peer education, and leadership development. An understanding of collective responsibility is nurtured through adherence to culturally informed codes of ethics, community service. We follow the Code of Ma'at and the Nguzo Saba. We advocate for systemic change by encouraging youth to be proactive in changing the world in which they live through service and community consciousness building. In SAGE, the creative arts are a pivotal part of our work. SAGE members engage in many creative arts activities as service projects. They make Project Linus blankets for children that are hospitalized. They sell homemade baked goods and make handmade jewelry and candles to fundraise for health-related causes that disproportionately impact Black women, such as breast cancer, diabetes, and HIV/AIDS. In January of 2020, a portion of the proceeds went to build a library outside of Accra, Ghana. All 120 books that they donated to the MA Basic School in Atiwoto had Black girls as the protagonist, as the main character. The girls also made friendship bracelets that I was able to deliver directly to their new international pen pals. SAGE members are mentored to cultivate skills that will help them successfully resist historical, social, and cultural assumptions made about Black girls. Since SAGE's inception, hundreds of youth participants have acquired lifelong skills that continue to help them as adults to navigate structures and institutions designed for their perpetual subjugation, economic oppression, and political disenfranchisement. Next slide, please. I use the descriptor Black girl as one word to prevent fragmenting the intersectional nature of the girls' identities. Hill coined the usage of this term to reject compartmentalizing, Black girls' lives, stories, and bodies in order to see them as complex, nuanced, and whole beings. This holistic framing of Black girls as whole and complete rejects the commonly held stereotypes and controlling images that make Black girls knowable, unknowing, and expendable. Constructs of racism, sexism, poverty, and other systems of social injustice seem to be normal, natural, and expected parts of daily life. Stereotypes include the sexually virile, promiscuous Jezebel, the asexual subservient mammy, as well as the loud, oppositional, aggressive, and stubborn Sapphire, otherwise known as the angry Black woman. The angry Black woman and aggressive Black girl stereotypes lead to consequences of exercising one's voice, whether in angry or moderated tones, which can render us threatening and hyper-visible. Any response to an aggressive encounter immediately risks deflecting attention from the aggressor and deflects blame squarely on the Black girls. School discipline policies, dress codes, codes of conduct that are gendered and racialized based on stereotypes of Black girls are legacies of American chattel slavery. Often, exclusionary punishments have less to do with what Black girls do and more to do with who they are and the bodies that they inhabit. Black girls endure some of the greatest obstacles to social emotional growth, educational opportunities, and equitable treatment inside schools. Black girls disparately experience surveillance, inspection, and punishments that target their dress codes, communication styles, and dispositions. There is a disproportionate number of Black girls receiving exclusionary discipline and disparate intensity and punishment inflicted upon Black girls in schools. Over the tenure of my work, of my direct service work, I've heard so many Black girls tell me the stories of being invisibilized, violated, misread, misjudged, misunderstood, and adultified in schools. According to the most recent data, Black girls represent 8.6% of all girls enrolled in New York State schools. However, they make up 32.7% of all expulsions of girls in New York State. New York City public schools are comprised of 25% Black girls, 43% Latinx girls, 15% white girls, and 17% are girls of other racial and ethnic backgrounds. Of girls enrolled in New York City public schools who received exclusionary punishment, 56% were Black, 32% were Latinx, 5% were white, and 10% were of other racial and ethnic backgrounds. Black girls in New York City elementary and middle schools are 11 times as likely to be suspended than their white girl peers. Even though Black girls represent only 25% of girls in New York City public schools, in the year 2019, they represented 57% of all interventions, 46% of child and crisis incidents, 53% of PINS warrants, 29% of juvenile reports, 63% of summonses, 61% of arrests, 65% of mitigations, and 65% of handcuffing incidents. These numbers tell a story of injustice that Black girls experience in the spaces that are supposed to protect them and keep them safe. The cumulative impact of the surveillance, mistreatment, and punishment of Black girls has significant consequences. The school to prison pipeline has been powerful in explicating one path to unjust mass incarceration. Critical theorists offer a more nuanced concept, which is the school to prison nexus, which suggests that instead of just funneling students toward incarceration, there are innumerable policies and practices that schools and prisons share, which conditions school administrators, faculty, and school safety officers to see Black girls as inherently dangerous and in need of constant monitoring, surveillance, and punishment. Moores developed the school to confinement pathways framework as an alternative to the school to prison pipeline that substantiates the far-reaching consequences and long-term effects of the over-punishment of Black girls from schools, which significantly affects their education, risk for incarceration, earning potential, and future generations of Black children. The exclusionary punishment of Black girls in schools is a pathway out of education and a pathway into poverty. Next slide, please. Every single one of my girls is Ma'Khia Bryant. Our participants understand the policies and practices of institutions and systems that are inherently anti-girl and that are inherently anti-Black. Yet we seek to work closely with youth to address and process the policies and practices at institutional, structural, and interpersonal levels that are anti-Black girl. Many girls experience the vicarious trauma of Ma'Khia Bryant's murder because any one of them could have been her. Through the use of creative arts, we support the girls in healing this vicarious trauma and provide them with strategies to navigate the complex emotions that come with the prospect of state-sanctioned violence potentially inflicted upon them or someone that they love, as Artist Up spoke to all of us at the beginning of this presentation. Spearheaded in 2019, LYRIC, which stands for Legendary Youth Rising in Communities, is a civic engagement project which develops Black girls' critical consciousness development, research proficiency, and needs assessment skills. Through SYEP, and most recently through the Department of Probation, we have been able to hire 3 cycles of youth, be paid to work as co-investigators with this LYRIC project. They each earn a stipend for their participation in weekly meetings and submissions of artwork. Last week, we just completed our last remote 14-week cycle of LYRIC where we invited boys and non-binary youth to participate. In LYRIC, we engage in art as a form of activism. We refer to this work as artivism, a mechanism for youth to identify collective areas of interest within their communities, study, share knowledge, and generate creative arts projects. Many of our youth have not been permitted by their parents or guardians to protest in the Black Lives Matter movement, and this project provided youth with an outlet to engage in meaningful activism, advocate for social justice, racial and gender equity through visual arts, poetry, song, and digital art. Through the LYRIC, the participants heal, reclaim, and redefine themselves through mutual support and understanding. They build critical consciousness to interrogate patterns of white dominance, decenter white gazes, and recenter a Black girl gaze. They decolonize language and are able to promote relationships through critical conversation. We don't teach youth what to think. We co-create spaces that teach youth how to think. Participants are able to question policies, practices, and patterns in schools that are contradictory to their best interests and priorities. They preserve love for their respective cultures, ways of being, and ways of knowing. They translate what is said into the forum into artist portfolios to contribute to a public-facing, web-based zine at the project's end. At the project's end, youth are guided in how to continue to generate new knowledge, become more engaged critical thinkers, and participate in an informed critical discourse as local advocates and global citizens. Next slide, please. So we're going to get to their artwork pretty soon, but you'll see here that these are some of the girls who participate over one of our summers working on the Lyric project. The participants have created artwork that speaks to the issues that they experience in schools. Themes that have emerged include colorism, texturism, featureism, being dress coded, and adultification bias. And essentially, adultification bias is something that prevents Black girls from being seen as children. Black girls are not afforded the same freedoms that are guaranteed in childhood, like exploration, the ability to make mistakes, or the benefit of the doubt. Essentially, they're being viewed as volitional and menacing, even though they are children like every other child in the classroom the same age. However, many educators and law professionals, as well as mental health professionals who interact with these children, are not aware of how they place more mature expectations on Black girls in these spaces. Next slide, please. Collectivism is a temporary form of artivism where youth can educate others on subject matter in public. It's a peaceful and powerful way to raise awareness among other people. And essentially, in this situation, the girls had an opportunity to choose a area of interest and put down some statistics, and then write a powerful adage next to that stark situation for Black women. And in this space, we were able to bridge research as a workforce development skill with leadership, peer education, and art. Next slide, please. So a core ethic of Sister Sage and Lyric is the ethic of play. Black girls disproportionately have more social, emotional, cognitive, and political labor imposed upon them than other racialized and gendered groups. Thus, we encourage our participants to enjoy their childhoods and to cultivate the confidence to be spontaneous, creative, and empathic in their friendships, familial relationships, and in the community. It is in their lives, ultimately, we want them to center play and also to center themselves and their passions and their enthusiasm at the center of their worlds in a way that Black girl joy can be engaged as a form of refusal and resistance to the very systems that subjugate and oppress them in their possibilities. So what I'll do is just close in this part just saying that play is a very important part of young people's capacities to restore themselves, because if you're constantly barraged with the ideas that you're an adult and that you have to reach certain expectations and perform in certain ways, then there is no space for you to be a child. And so essentially through this artwork, young people are attempting to restore their lives and to take back the power that may have been taken from them with the proliferation of stereotypes and mistruths that are held with and about them in schools. So we're going to move on to the video, and I hope you enjoy the girls' work.
Antagonize. To most, we are witches, barbarians, savages, with only the slightest inclination of civilization. And to be honest, I have no problem being the antagonist of this story. I know that my hooded almond eyes, shining like pools of bronze, pierce through your being. The stare through and not at you. I know that the size of my hair both intimidates and infuriates you as you ponder the secrets inside. I am an enigma. My mind's a maze and my curls are a labyrinth of which you will never decide. I ride with my coven of Black sisters and sisters in Black, and together we flaunt the culture that you marginalize, of which you could only fantasize to have. So yes, in some ways I'm the witch and the Black bitch you hate, the villain in your book. But without my diversity and melanated magic, your book would cease to exist.
my walls. I'm mean. I'm blunt. I'm disrespectful. I'm viewed as mysterious. Those are my walls to protect myself. Climb over my walls. I'm sensitive. I'm scared. I'm tired. You'll never climb that far though. Why protect myself so I won't be hurt by these cruel humans?
A lot of people just say like you're over exaggerating, like there's nothing wrong with you, like you're just being a drama queen, like like not really giving that problem like the attention that it needs.
Or like they say that you're playing the victim.
My skin shining so bright, this shade, but they got me feeling alright. These braids feel way too tight, but I know I look good, so it's all night. Anxiety's trying to knock me off this vibe. I'm feeling way too fly to have this light of mine. I'm trying to knock this confidence, cause today this black girl magic's at an all-time high. Oh, I don't care if you stare in my hair. I feel like I can touch the sky. Yeah, I got my girls and all my family and everything that matters to me. I'm at an all-time high. Ooh, I'm at an all-time high.
Ingredients were 1 cup of ancestor spirit, 2 1 cup of curl cream, 3 2 cups of cold shoulder, 4 half cup of reflection, 5 half a gallon of mental protection, 6 1 gallon of peace, 7 2 tablespoons of education. Directions. Start off with your gallon of peace and put it into a large pot. Let the peace boil until it is bubbling with a white surface coating the top. While the peace is boiling, take a cup and put your 2 tablespoons of education in it, along with 2 cups of your cold shoulder, and mix them. Next, take your cup of curl cream and put it into a blender. Add your cup of ancestral spirits and half cup of reflection and let it blend. After it has blended, take your half gallon of mental protection and pour into the blender and let it blend with the other ingredients. Now take your boiled gallon of peace and pour it into the blender. Once blended, it should be a thick and creamy consistency. Pour as much as you want into a glass or cup. Top off the shake with your mixture of education and cold shoulder. This shake will help you to stand up to any discrimination or racism performed against black girls and women. This shake will help you to continue to keep your peace in a world against you, but will never make you back down from fighting it.
Recipe for disaster. Ready in 20 minutes and can serve as many people as you like. Only 500 calories. Ingredients: 2 cups of karma, 3 tablespoons of kill them with kindness, 1 cup of no remorse, 5 teaspoons of brutal honesty, half a cup of I'm crazy, 5 cubes of I'm not sorry ice. Preparation: 1. In a bowl, mix 2 cups of karma and 2 tablespoons of kill them with kindness. Mix until well blended together. 2. Gradually add in the 1 cup of no remorse and mix in until blended. 3. Add in 3 teaspoons of brutal honesty and the last teaspoon of kill them with kindness. mix. 4. Move your mixture into a blender. Add in the 5 cubes of ice in the mixture. Blend until ice is crushed. 5. Add the last teaspoons of brutal honesty and the half cup of I'm crazy, and then blend it until well mixed together. 6. Serve this disaster and chilled to your teachers and peers at school. Tips: mean everything you say and stand your ground.
Outcast. O. Observe and unveil what the world does not want to see. U. Utilize my education and the knowledge of my history to make a positive change in the world. T. Take control of my life and create opportunities for myself. C. Captivate the world with my words and my actions. A. Act in the part they want to see and flip the script when need may be. S. Scrutinize what the whitewashed world tells me to believe. T. Taking no as an answer will never be an option.
I am not your stereotypes. I am not your token black girl. I am not your angry black woman. I am not deserving of any negativity, and I am not strong. I am unique. I am intelligent. I am resilient. I am creative. I am magic. I am confident in my own skin. I am worthy of validation, and I am good enough. I am worthy enough to give and receive love. I am me, and I am not going to fit into any box you try and put me into.
So on the final in closing, I just want to say that the primary drivers for our successful holistic youth development and learning are trust, structure, consistency, and authentic social connection. Creative arts are integral to design and develop culturally relevant, healing informed, and transformative youth-centered programs. Through this work, we endeavor to cultivate genius, prioritize joy, build a community consciousness, nurture cultural identity, and to relentlessly pursue liberation with youth. Thank you.
I am at a loss for words. And yeah. Thank you, Thais, for that presentation. The arts are not cute. And this is really, really got my wheels turning right now. And we are going to move forward, and we're just getting closer to the Q&A and the panel. But yes, thank you so much for sharing that work, and thank you to all those girls who have shared, from their truth and from their pain and from their experiences. I am now going to be introducing I'm Dave Johnson, who is a poet in residence through the Department of Probation. He is with Free Verse. Dave Johnson. Dave, we're excited to have you and excited to hear about the angle of the work that you are doing and supporting young people in New York City.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I want to say a big thank you to Credible Messenger Justice Center, to DOP, and to everyone involved in making this day happen. And to all these incredible artists that we've heard before, I just hope you'll come work with us too, because this is some amazing, amazing work. And I'm just blown away by what we've already seen today. I just want to tell you a little bit about what we do at Freeverse. I've been very fortunate to serve as poet in residence for around 10 years now to the Department of Probation. We started Freeverse back in about 2011, end of 2011, 2012, when they were remodeling the entire, what became the Neon Centers, where the probation centers and the waiting rooms where probation clients would check in with their probation officers. And they were really looking for some kind of programming, something that would happen within the center that would actually change or create some kind of environment that could be conducive to creation while people were waiting. And so I met with Lonnie Tanner, who has been my right-hand partner in this, who's with the Department of Probation. And I told her, you know, this is what I do. For a long time, I'm a poet, playwright. I've taught in many different places throughout New York City in my career as a teaching artist in community-based projects for several years before that. And I said, I'll just bring, you know, I'll bring what I do and see if we can make something happen. And so we started right there in the space, you know, free verse. And it became right away, you know, a place where we would just try to get guys that were waiting to write poems while they waited. And at first they thought I was completely insane. I would literally walk around the space and ask them, would you like to write a poem? You got a poem for me today? And they were like, what's going on? Who is this guy? He's out of his mind. And then we had a dedication, and Bloomberg came to the space when they got this thing built, and revamped the space. And the city left behind a microphone, and that's always dangerous for a poet if there's a mic anywhere in the neighborhood. And so I asked him, I said, could we just use this and start an open mic right here in the space? And when we began Free Verse, it was really me just reading on the mic. And after 3 or 4 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks, I think the guys waiting there just got tired of hearing me. And finally, I got them to get up. And then sort of the rest is history in a way. And I'm going to show you some of that today. We are now a publishing house, working artist program, writing workshop, and a magazine of poetry, prose, art, and song that promotes turning waiting time into creative time. And as we said, we're headquartered in the heart of the waiting room of the South Bronx DOP, where probation clients check in with their officers. Free Verse solicits new writing created while people wait. The editorial staff of our magazine is a mix of probation clients, community members, college students, and professional poets employed to serve as paid writing apprentices right there in the waiting room. Free Verse hosts weekly open mics and workshops and numerous public events that invite court-involved clients, probation officers, staff, police officers, judges, professional writers, and the community to share their work together. And during the last 7 years, over 20 probation departments from around the United States, Italy, and Australia have visited the South Bronx to experience Free Verse. And we invite you that when we go back there, when we get back in there, that all of you guys come and visit us on our open mic. And of course, since we've been in the pandemic, we've been operating online. So we're available every Thursday for anyone who's out there today that would like to visit us. We'd love to have you come and perform on our open mic Zoom every Thursday afternoon. So we'll be there tomorrow, and we'll give you that link if you would like to visit us, right? So we'll just go through it a little bit and see just some of the things that we have been doing and showcase some of these pictures of what we've been creating over the last, say, 10 years. We can just keep the slide going and just see some of our work that we're working right here. This is an open mic that's happening. This is our banner that we created. One of our own designers of the program created that. You'll see on the right-hand side of the screen there, it'll probably pop up here in a second. When we had a Free Verse publication party, the magazine parties, we've published the magazine now, eight editions of the magazine. And here you'll see a client and staff actually performing together. And they made this collage in the back, actually from this was the very first magazine we did. And we needed a backdrop to host the space. And so 2 or 3 of our guys just created collage right from the text that we had created. Here's an example of a couple of our clients and staff. One of the big things in our program is that we really try very hard to bring everybody into the room. One of the things I knew right away that was very important was to have buy-in from everyone. And I will say the DOP has been an incredible partner. And this agency, I can't speak highly enough because everybody dove in. We would have writing workshops for the staff, for probation officers. And then when we got back out there, in the waiting room, they would come out and get on the mic too. And so, it's just an incredible experience to see clients and staff getting involved in the open mics together. And it really created a different kind of vibe in the room. And we were sort of acting as kind of like a triage between when you came into the space and then, you had to check in with your officer. People had a chance to just basically say what was happening. This is our first book that we were able to publish after 3 or 4 magazines. We were able to publish Young Person Tower Lily's first book of poems. I think there's about 40 poems in there. She's gone on to win several. Here she is with the commission with Anna Bermudez. We got to thank Anna and all of her staff, Lily Shapiro, all those guys, Sharon, have just been incredible to help us out. These are poetry party, T-shirt parties, and I'd love to make all kinds of creations to make these things go. And so we're constantly trying new things to create new events to keep this alive, and that's what we've been doing in many different ways. We have this one, it's called Make Your Own Book Party, where we invited everyone to literally come in, and this is, as you can see in the slide on the left, there were sheets of like one-liners that we published from each of our poets, and then the public could come in and finish the poem themselves. So a lot of times what we're talking about is taking, really, highly regarded, famous writers and using those as models. But then what we did was say, you guys are now the models, and we're going to have you teach from your own work, from your peers' work right here in the space to teach other people to write poems. And so that's what we did when we started creating the Working Artist Program. And so I really started thinking in terms of how we could take this and make it an economic opportunity for guys, that it wasn't just about poetry, that what we really needed to do was to get out in the neighborhood and take these skills that we're learning and put them to work and to actually create a business for ourselves. I had taught for so many years in so many public spaces, and to be totally honest with you, there were very few young men that were actually working in these spaces as teaching artists. And I just felt like this was an opportunity, and we needed to make it happen. Here you'll see we've been also involved in bilingual publications. This is the Italian Theater Festival, which we named Versetto Libero, which is little free verses in Italian. This has been an incredibly popular program where the Italian theater artists come over every year from 7 or 8 different companies and work with us to translate our poems into Italian. It's been just an incredible experience. And then to see it, this is our fearless leader up there, Miss Davis. And behind her, you'll see our wall. And it just makes me think of some of the slides we just saw would be great for this wall too, by the way. I think they should be in that space. But this is a wall that we created of posters. We call this the 10-word poem project. And each or tell your story in 10 words or less. Each poet created their own poster, and we worked with professional designers to make that happen. Several of our poets have now also got to go to Italy to study, and you'll hear about that in just a bit from them, about some of the organizations that they've been involved with. And I think that's been a real incredible experience. Here you'll see this Roman tourist attraction. I have to tell you about this story. Once the theater artists came and went back home and told all of their friends how incredible it was, we had a tour of tourists from Italy that were not artists that had heard about it, and they came on tour and they called us and said, could we come visit you too? So these aren't even artists. These are people that came on vacation to New York and then came to visit us and wanted to be a part of the program too and write poems and translate with us. It was an incredible experience to see how the public embraced it. So that's been really great. And this is a Kwanzaa Fest we did in Staten Island. We've actually branched out to the other neon sites and been fortunate enough to work in every single one now. So we started in the Bronx. So here's in Brownsville. The guys doing block parties in the summers, doing the stamp parties, creating T-shirts. And now this is the program I really want to tell you a little bit about, because these guys are now working. They've gone through a program where they were paid interns and apprentices within the program, and now they're working at the Visions Senior Center, employed by Teachers and Writers Collaborative, which is an organization I've worked for over 25 years. And a big shout out to those guys and other organizations like that that are willing to hire our guys after they've been trained through Freeverse to go out and work. These guys are working with visually impaired seniors, creating story and sculpture in this particular workshop. They've also hosted poetry workshops, playwriting workshops. This particular one, we get to go to MoMA, and we actually get to touch the Picassos. And I can tell you all the European tourists were incredibly jealous of what you're about to see in this next slide. And that's our guys with the guys in our program. And they literally said, you can put on the plastic gloves. This was pre-pandemic, of course, but we were wearing plastic gloves anyway. But we were actually allowed to touch the Picassos and then write poems about them. It was an incredible experience. And it's just tremendous work these guys are doing. And so we took what they learned there in that experience and then back home and actually working with them to make sculptures here, as you'll see in this space. This space is on 23rd Street, and here's a little video. Let's listen to the video then of one of the guys talking about the program.
Hello, everybody. My name is Omar Vale. I have been working with Dave Johnson additions, teaching art and doing poetry workshops to seniors with disabilities, especially visually impaired. It has been an amazing experience. The last 4 years has been the happiest years of my life. Thanks to the opportunity of Mr. Johnson to join his team and be part of this amazing work he does in these facilities. I can spend hours talking how grateful, how happy, how much my life was transformed through this experience. And to resume that, please allow me to read a poem I wrote to my vision students during this experience. And it's titled, You May Be Blind. You may be blind, but your face glows when you talk. When I hear your voice, my uneasy spirit anchors into a land of unseen dreams. You may be blind, but your view of the world is far deeper than the ones that had sighted with their own illusions. You may be blind, but you light up the room and my life with your presence. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Omar Ovale for that. He's worked in the program for, as he said, 4 years now, and he's about to launch another program that's going to be working too through the through the Brooklyn Council for the Arts, which will be happening, I think, in 2 or 3 weeks. So he's extending his work even further, and we're really happy about that. So again, these are artists that worked for and with Freeverse and are now out there as teaching artists working for other nonprofits in New York City, right? So you can see a couple of them at work here, right? Really doing all kinds of pieces. This is one of our beautiful seeing eye dogs there that we also wrote poems for, right? We love, named Blossom, right? You see the guys working in the space there. Hear from one of the others in just a little bit. This was see the birthday party here. This was Carmen. She's 91 years old. We had this birthday right before we went into lockdown, into this pandemic, and she's an incredible writer and artist, and I think just incredible. You see Napoleon, who working there. And then we'll have to tell you a little bit about the Queens Museum. We were so fortunate this past season. The Queens Museum reached out to us and asked us if we would do a retrospective of all of our work, and that's what we did. We made T-shirt parties and created work right there in the space with the public. I think we hired 15 of our poets to go in and work with the public. These were paid internships to work there with the public, creating poems And this is what was on the wall. These are copies, blown up copies of our magazine. And they gave us the entire second floor space overlooking the old World's Fair site. It was incredible. And we were there. As you can see, it takes up that whole site. One of our poets reading there. And we were just so lucky. It went right up into the pandemic, and then we were still to be there for another 3 months. This is Lily Shapiro. Thank you. I think Lily's out here today. She served on a panel with us that this is for women's. This was International Women's Day. We had a wonderful turnout. In fact, this was the last day that the museum was open before we had to shut down, and so we still kept operating. Though the Queens Museum was so wonderful with us. This is the seniors' work, right? So we've got Free Verse's work, what they've created, and also the work of the seniors that they worked with. These are pieces they created, sculptures that they created that were also in the museum. So it was just an incredible experience, and we had the seniors to come out and be involved in the project as well. And here's one more little video by Napoleon Felipe, talk about his work in the program.
Hello, my name is Napoleon Felipe, and I've been working with Freeverse for about 9 years. I would like to say that I've been there since the very beginning of the program, and my journey with Freeverse, being a working teaching artist, has been a very interesting, a very wonderful experience. So many things I can say that I've learned from them, and so many things I'm continuing to learn. And I can just say that I'm so grateful for it. I'm amazed at times at how much I've grown from just being actively engaging in this program. So as a working teaching artist, I could definitely say that it's been a wonderful experience, and I'm happy to do the work that kind of work. You know what I mean? Just being able to do the things I do is something that I learned over time as I was doing, like the title itself, a working teaching artist. I didn't know what to call it at first, but hearing myself saying, I'm a working teaching artist, a lot of people would feel intrigued as to what does that really mean. What that means to me is that I work in the arts. I work primarily in the writing, creative writing department, and basically I'm helping or working with people, just bring out their stories, to bring out what their thoughts are and formulating them into poetry or into short stories, long stories, putting them on stage, if they want to work, turn that into some type of play or a theater piece. And I love it. It's something that I enjoy to do. I feel like, this is probably stretching it, but it's like a gift, I feel like I've been handed a gift, and it's something that I never imagined myself doing, but I'm glad I am doing it. So currently, right now, in my position as a working teaching artist, I am working with visually impaired seniors and with teachers and writers, with members of the seniors are members of a facility called Visions, and they're all great people, just wonderful people to work with. I mean, it's so much fun too on top of that, but it's been a very, very wonderful experience, a very interesting experience to work with them. And I feel like if it wasn't for my experience working with Freeverse, working with Dave, and just learning the things, the skills that I learned, such as speaking and writing, just these simple skills like that, like just have really magnified my ability to engage a lot of the residents and the attendees at Visions, and I can't begin to say enough that that's integral, to me. I feel like I don't think I've been able to do what I do now if I wasn't connected, at Freeverse, if I wasn't working at Freeverse, if I've never done any kind of work at Freeverse, if I've never done any kind of writing or anything like that. I just think that the program opened many doors for me. I think that they gave me an opportunity, one that I never thought I'd have. I now work with wonderful people. I have good prospects about what I want to do with my jobs. I mean, I was able to travel a few years ago overseas to Italy to study theater and playwriting, all because of Freeverse. And I'm able to use those skills too as well to work with the people in our workshops, and that's something that I'm proud of, and something that I want to continue doing. It gives me a sense of a freeing sensation for myself as a to be sort of self-employed in a sense. Yeah. So that is my experience, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Thank you, guys. And we encourage you to join us. Again, we run open mic every Thursday. We're running online now, and we would love to have any of the artists that are out here today or folks who are listening in to join us. You're welcome to join us with poetry, music, song, stories, or if you just want to listen in, you're welcome to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. I'm getting a little feedback now. I don't know if you guys hear that, but I just want to thank you. That was amazing to watch and experience. I am going to invite, we are down to our last section together, and I want to invite all the presenters to just turn on their cameras and their mics, and we're going to have a panel discussion. I'm just really overwhelmed. This is just so you guys get a little insight in the back room, and I'm watching all of these presentations for the first time, and I'm kind of glad about that. I'm so impacted by everybody's work, and just amazed at how everybody is using creativity to bust through the status quo. And in the work with credible messengers, we get a lot of questions around like curriculum and how to run programs, and I think everybody has presented something that has really not just, I don't know, I'm just like, my question is like, do you guys all feel this? Because we get so many questions around that, and I think that you all have done an amazing job at letting us into what creativity has to offer. When it comes to more than just healing. I mean, it goes above and beyond that that it's necessary, that it is not just something that you should include, but that without it you exclude a humongous factor of opportunity, the humongous factor of opportunity. And so I have some words that I just highlighted as I like kind of reacting around just like the engagement, but the curriculum piece being huge, because I mean, Joseph, what you were talking about, the way you used things like the stages of change, where a lot of times folks get trained around, and how you use some of this curriculum to bring voice and to bring somebody into their own experience and that self-awareness. And Thais, how you just blew the cap off of just the conditions of Black girls and those powerful pieces. I mean, just all together, this has been really powerful. So first, I want to say, folks, drop your comments, your thoughts, your questions to the chat. We have about half hour. I have my own questions here. And the first one I want to ask, and again, we all have our view of this, and I feel like you all alluded to this just in a certain aspect, but I want to just hear it more from you now, is like, how do you see the relationship between the creative arts and healing? Like, how would you describe that to somebody that is, seeing arts as like, oh, that's a nice thing to do, like we should include that? And what role, how would you describe the importance of that role in terms of coping, in terms of healing, in terms of liberation? social change. And I'll open that up to anyone who wants to speak first.
Well, okay, I'll take it. Thank you. So as an artist, and someone who wrote for a long time before actually performing, I will say that I come across a lot of people, and as a teacher in the New York City Board of Education as well, I come across a lot of parents who believe that their children, when they want to get into the arts, that it's nothing for them to do, and they need to just focus on something that is more important, or something that is going to be more sustainable, or what they think. And so running program in one of the treatment facilities that I was an independent contractor in before the pandemic hit. I'm running a group, and this is a youth facility, this particular one, and one of the students who was in the group was I'd say like a star student. He was so strong in grasping the concept of internalizing the emotion and feeling it, and then writing it out and into poetry. And so this one session, he wasn't there, but something must have happened outside. He was very, very upset. He came inside looking for me because he knew at that time we were running group, or group should have been running at that time. So instead of being so upset and fighting outside, he came inside to the group, sat in the circle, as I always circle up my groups, sat in the circle, signed in, sat in the circle, said a poem, and then said, "Can I leave now?" as he was crying, and asked permission to break the circle from the group. The students allowed me to break circle for a second. I went out the room. I thanked him for expressing himself that way, and that's when I knew we were breaking ground, and that there is no mistake when it comes to the arts and healing and expressing, and how that's just not something to take lightly, but the arts really do save lives. They really do. And he felt it in that moment and chose expression over violence. And that's the whole point. That was the whole point.
Right on. Thank you. Joseph, you gave me a thumbs up. I didn't know if you wanted to take that next.
Up to Nicole for taking that question. That's a hard question. But I'll just add my 2 cents and say that it's incredible. It's incredible. I look at it more like a process. Creative arts leads to healing, and vice versa. But like Nicole said, it's teaching other people outside the creative circles that it's sustainable, and it's a process of healing, and something that the community from, if we were to really promote it and support it.
Right on. Can I throw that over to you, Thais? Your thoughts around that?
Sure. I think that given certain histories and lived experiences, that the arts are used as a face of fugitivity, in the sense that you're trying to run away from the structures and systems that are been built to subjugate and oppress you. And so, the creation of the arts allows young people in particular a space of catharsis and freedom. That the way that we talk about it in Lyric and Sage is to intentionally be subversive. So to intentionally, disrupt politics of responsibility, and being appropriate. So we're able to, engage in a level of creativity with young people when they're given permission and full license to create whatever they want. Because we aren't the Department of Education. We aren't these structures that, have been sustained over time to marginalize Black girls in a very intentional way. We have this space within the community where they're given permission to realize a future that centers them. And the future that centers them requires some level of abolition. So that means that this does not work. Schools don't work for Black girls.
Right.
They don't. And so we have this tendency to try to be reforming and as opposed to transforming. And so the effort to try to transform a space that was never created for Black girls is a futile endeavor. What can we do to get in their mind that school shouldn't be like this for you, and to engage them in a space of radical imagination for a future that centers them. Because if Black girls are free, everybody gets free. And so that's something that I think that is foundational and core to our work in healing young people through the arts.
Wow, thank you. I wrote this down when you were sharing, and I, like I said, it's like it was such a great follow up to like from Nicole to what Joseph was introducing to what you're saying and listening to Dave. But that I keep going back to this idea of curriculum because it was so salient through everybody's the role of the arts as the predominant curriculum and the freedom and the creativity that is hinged honestly on the survival of people, of being able to break out of, and that is what the arts offer and offers, and creativity offers. And so I thought to myself, like when you were talking the role of what healing curriculum does, and that there is hurting curriculum, and it hurts if it excludes your audience, and these the mandates of the audience, and thinking about what you just said and what Nicole just alluded to, around what education is set to do, and what you guys are all speaking about, which kind of blows the cap off of all of this. And Dave, I just want to draw you into this discussion. How are you seeing that the relationship and the necessity of arts and the healing work that it sets to do for the community?
Well, I think it starts with the individual, and I think that, that anyone who begins the process of practicing an art form, that you learn right away that when you write a poem or whatever it happens to be, whatever form you're practicing, that something happens for you both emotionally and psychologically as you practice that art form in the moment. Something is happening for you, and you may not necessarily understand it right away, but that you begin to understand, I think, that you are finding a new way. You find the power of your own voice. And I think from that power of the individual voice, then comes the power of the communal voice, and it builds off of that, But I think you begin to consider that preconceived notions are not what we originally thought. And I know that in my own life, I remember thinking early on, as I was starting to practice for the first time in a very rudimentary way, that, you don't actually have to repeat the behaviors that you were taught as a kid. And I think realizing that, you don't have to be the way that you think you were taught to be, that there is another way, and I think, somehow in the arts that begins to happen through that practice, and it opened a new path for me personally. And I think that's in my own practice. I think that's what I'm looking to try to advocate, is that powerful moment when you realize you really do have choices, right? There are other choices you can make right now, and that your voice is powerful. And you can voice that. And again, I think it starts with the individual, and then it starts, I think, as you begin to listen to other voices, and then as a community, honoring each other and responding to that.
Thank you so much. I want to ask, because again, we have folks that I think what this does, I know for me personally, and our agenda is really to just present the work of people who are doing it, and get the spark going for those who are there, the inspiration for those who are trying and maybe, struggling through it, or wanting to get ideas. And I mean, what words do you have to share for people who want to get started, who want to integrate creativity, and who want to use the arts? They see the beauty of it. They see that obviously everybody that's here has a vested interest in that. Like, what would you say for folks who want to get started around this? What are some baseline things around, especially we're specifically talking about, Black and brown youth from the communities who are, experiencing oppression and experiencing, traumas, and have been shut out. So I think that the approach isn't just to say, okay, we want to just put this on, but what would you say to our audience about getting started, or what should they be holding on to as they want to integrate or continue to integrate the arts? Go ahead, Thais.
So I mentioned that the different roles I've had at Riseboro for a reason, because I had to have a bread and butter real job that paid me for my work. Yeah. None of these things pay me. So that's the thing, is that when you create new things, not saying that this is right, because certainly that work deserves to be compensated. But the priority for me is to make sure that the kids get the compensation. You know what I mean? So if there's an opportunity for them to get stipends, then you know what? I'll take it as a passion project, and then just, generate that work outside of my regularly scheduled work. And so that's something that I think that a lot of people don't necessarily realize, that in order for you to be able to have a viable, quality of life and be able to, pay your bills, that sometimes this art stuff is icing on the cake. Because we all know we can eat cake without icing, but it tastes better when you have icing on it. So certainly, that's something that you have to kind of start. And I was told when I had the vision to do this work, this is a great idea, Thais, but you have to find the money. My supervisor told me that. And so I was like, oh, no, I got to become a grant writer now? I'm a social worker. How am I going to become a grant writer? And so over time, I was able to lean on my colleagues who had resources that they shared with me, whether it was, trips for the kids to go on, or extra tickets, or, certain supplies. And then from there, I was able to generate, a vision that became fundable. Because at first it wasn't able to be funded because there were too many gaps in the program design, in the idea for the curriculum, in the staffing pattern, and all those sorts of things. So I think it's important to have that vision, but to be mindful of the different steps that are required in program design and development, at least from a community-based perspective.
Right. Anyone else thoughts around that? Joseph, you go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dave. I'll call on Joseph next. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say I agree with that, with what Thais said. 100%. Trying to get those in positions of power to recognize that the work, deserves to be paid, and then and like you said, I think it's incredibly important, and we've been, very fortunate to find agencies that support that work, and support young people through these kinds of projects, and I think that is incredibly important. But I also think it's about, as you're saying there, it's about perseverance and knowing that, everything's not going to be perfect in this work. It's tough. It's hard, to be totally honest. But from those imperfect moments, if you trust that the beauty will arise, it'll show itself. Those poetic moments. I mean, that work we saw earlier today. I mean, Thais, I can't say, oh my God, that stuff it's just incredible. I mean, it's incredible, and it just speaks for itself. So, I mean, I think that work itself, when you look at it, you just say, that it takes a lot of trust and perseverance, but it's there. It's going to happen. So. Trust, I think, is a big thing.
Yeah. Joseph, you wanted to say something.
Yes. I wanted to say that I think the design process is also a creative and a healing process. So I would really recommend people that want to get started to look at it like it's your own healing process also. It's like in my instance, I was creating workshops that was intentional. The intention was to heal other youth, but the process of creating it took me through a whole creative process that I did a lot of healing through it also, and just through interviewing Trig and just interviewing other people and doing trainings on how to implement this type of program. I learned a lot, and I wasn't expecting to learn that much, and I wasn't expecting to go through a creative process where I'm still implementing these workshops, and it's become timeless. And some things get outdated, but this artwork is hasn't been outdated, and I think it's really important for us that want to get involved and want to start teaching through art. That it's also a creative process for us, and it's a healing process for the facilitators.
Yeah, I can see that. Nicole, did you wanna add to anything to that?
Yeah, thank you. Um, Getting started, I'll say just know that just just know that there is no bad place to start, and anywhere you start from is of greatness, even if you feel like you should have started before or it's too soon. I hold an open mic that I started to bring awareness to mental health and suicide, and to mental health in the Black and Brown community and suicide amongst young Black women, because those numbers are rising astronomically high, and people weren't talking about it when the arts are concerned. And so since I've started, I've had about 880 first timers on the microphone of all different walks of life, cultures, careers, ages. I've had all different ages on the microphone, from 5 years old to in their late 80s, people who have just started, and people who are very well into the industry. And so the inspiration that I feel every time the forum is going on is amazing. And through the pandemic, I just want to give some light to Shaniqua Charles. Through the pandemic and the community center that was open, I was able to continue to hold my open mic. And people were like, it was the only open mic happening in the Bronx, physically, and people were like really hurting. Even during that time, I was hurting. I was mentally, it was exhausting. It was so terrifying. Like that time, it was just like, you need a space. And artists were coming from all over. Like they were coming from, all five boroughs, out of the five boroughs, far, because they just needed that release. So running that program once a week, it's called Tuesday Night Expressions. That to me gave a lot of people a place to start, when it felt like everything was closed and shut down. So I was like virtual for like 2 weeks, and then I opened back up physically. The space was really large, so it was safe. People were far away from each other. But I just want to say, like, to get started, you just got to get started and find those places, whether it's like open mics online or in person or write, or just know that people want to hear what you have to say. And it is definitely healing, hence healing through the arts.
Right on, right on. We have a comment question on the chat. It says, you will all clearly create safe spaces in which people are willing to make themselves really vulnerable. Can you speak how you do that while ensuring people are supported and grappling with whatever emotions the process of self-expression brings up? That's a great question. Again, can you speak to how you do that while ensuring people are supported and grappling with whatever emotions the process of self-expression brings up? What do you guys do? How do you handle that?
I'll answer first. That's a great question. Yeah, you're right, Belinda. That is a great question. So shout out to them. But ensuring that people feel safe. Was it ensuring that people feel safe while being vulnerable in that space? Was that the question?
Yeah, so in effect, your art, I mean, everybody here had me in tears. So let's just start there. You're inviting young people to express, and it's
Yeah.
the most vulnerable space. So how are you handling, or how do you approach, being a supportive person in that space as you invite them to open up? How are you dealing, or how are you working with young people as that's happening?
Well, I feel like being vulnerable yourself from time to time is good, because they understand that it's a safe space. They understand that it's love in that space, and in order to really be free in life, you got to be free with yourself first. So in being vulnerable, it is a scary thing, but to provide the youth with a space in place, whether it is physical or virtual, or however it's being run, to give them that opportunity in of itself and say, we want to hear you. We want you to be free is like the first step in vulnerability and expression and in the arts. And the way that it all ties in, the way that we've all come together today and exhibited what it is that we all do and how we all care, is vulnerability in of itself. And so the youth, they can feel that. And so to just give them the space and the place and let them know that we're here for them, that is like a great building block to being able to handle that and let them know that we're here for them, and you know, we're making the ways so they can live.
Also, if I could just share that I agree that vulnerability is really important, and also being able to treat young people, give space for young people to be young people, to let them have fun, to play, but also understand that the world is abundant, and we are socialized to think that there are all these deficits in the world and there's not enough for everyone. That's a function and product of capitalism, neoliberalism, and all these other factors that keep us oppressed. If we come into space and create spaces for young people that are abundant, there's enough for everyone. Everyone gets what they need. You get enough time to eat your lunch. You get, an extra shirt if you lost your shirt. So having those spaces of, because we have to wear uniforms in the summertime because of summer camp and that sort of thing. So to be able to have those spaces and create spaces of abundance for young people, I think is something that's really important. Because otherwise they continue to be concerned about what you might take from them, whether it's their rights, their liberty, or their capacity to be autonomous, especially within school settings. And so we work in after school program, but it's within a school setting. So the culture of the school is still present. And so being able to willfully disrupt too, as an adult who knows what the rules are, and being willing to ask for forgiveness over permission is something that is really core to my work. What am I willing to give up? What am I willing to get written up for? What am I willing to put myself on the line for these kids? You know what I mean? Because I have enough. You know what I mean? So I can get it written right up and still be okay. But how am I going to bat for them in a way that doesn't prioritize or center my comfort in things that I need as an adult? I think that's really critical to this work. What rules am I willing to break for them, for their well-being, for their healing, for their peace?
Wow.
Belinda?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I just want to piggyback off of what they were saying before I lose my train of thought. It's really important for us to understand that ensuring that young people know that vulnerability does not mean weakness. You can be vulnerable, and it's that transfer of energy. Whatever energy you're feeling at the moment, how are you feeling? Especially if it's negative energy and you want to transfer that into something positive, it's okay to cry. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to joke. It's okay to hug. It's okay to compliment somebody. It's okay. And we don't convey that to young people too often, and let them know that, this space is a place for you to take that aggression out, but we want you to take it out in a way that, is harmless. Thank you.
Thanks, Tiffany. Yes to all of that. And I appreciate how you just kind of turned that on its head, because I think sometimes we just are really very exterior about so much. And a lot of times I think that we ourselves are afraid of our own vulnerability and, that wall that we have to have and not enter in to what it costs, to enter in fully into the experience and to be the types of bridges that are just more than like, hey, pat on the back, you're going to be okay, and I go home. So I really appreciate what you just said, Thais, and what you're saying, Tiffany. I want to just ask so many things, but I'm going to go with this question here. All of your work feels very rooted in New York City-based cultures that our young people come from. Have you found that it translates to youth from other contexts? There is such a dearth of culturally competent curriculum, yes, and people seem to be looking for what works with Latino youth, or what works for Black girls. But the question is for you, Joseph. For example, do you think your curriculum would work as is for, say, Chicano youth on the West Coast?
Great question. I believe so. It depends on the facilitator. I trust myself to be able to translate a Spanish Dominican hip hop album from to in a Pomona in California, Watts, and take out the lessons. There's a lot of life lessons that are coming from a real life experience that I think everybody could relate to, and it adds to the diversity that the kids tend to lack. I always say that hip bridge is a generation it bridges the generation gap and also bridges the cultural gap. And I think it's the lessons speaked out the way I did with the workshops. I think you'd be able to get the lessons. Thanks for that question, Avi, for the presentation.
Thank you. We have about 5 more minutes left, and I always like to ask more about people personally, because I think we what happens is when we bring our full selves, and don't limit or exclude under professions, and so I think that it's one of the questions that I had sent you guys, and I'm just wondering how you'd answer. And some of you kind of have alluded to it. Is how we talked a lot about the impact, and we heard the impact of creating opportunity spaces and ideologies and platforms for people. Because Joseph, Dave, I think it wasn't just young people, it was the community. It was intergenerational. It was, really broad and powerful. How has this changed your life? How has doing the work you're doing right now, healing through arts, how has it changed your life? As some closing thoughts.
Well, I would just say for me personally in my writing life, I'm constantly, not only seeking to create, but to actually study more. It makes me want to be a better student myself, and I think that's one thing that I've really felt that doing this particular work in the last 10 years with Freeverse has taught me even more. I've always felt that as an artist, you always need to keep filling up the well, but I think in this stage of my life, I think that's what I would say most is I feel that it's helped me realize at even a deeper level how important it is to be a good student myself in order to be able to give more, to be able to offer more. So I think that's probably the number one thing.
Nicole, how about you?
Thank you. Yeah, so doing this work, wow, I say that it has definitely changed my life for the better, and to open up and have an even larger perspective, because Thais said very clearly, what rules am I willing to break? And the fact that we even have to ask that question as educators is a problem. There should be it shouldn't be like that, but it is in our communities. And so, when I first started in the Board of Education, I used to cry. I used to come home and cry because I couldn't believe it was like that. And so in doing this work as well, I've noticed that it's just made me a stronger person for the youth, and my future goals. Of course, I'm also in Fordham University getting my master's now in social work. And the goal is to come out of the school system physically in that one space, in that one school, so that I can reach more children and let them know that whatever they want is attainable. Whatever they want, they can have. Even though there's so many resources that lack for them, like new books and cooking class and swimming and track, and I just want them to know. I just feel like coming out of there. So it has changed my life to let me know that I need to be in a larger space so that I can reach physically more children. Because being in one school and having to decide which rule it is that I can break, like Thais said, that is so true, is not cool. So doing this work has definitely showed me that the youth, in particular, they deserve more of me. So it's made me realize I need to be in more spaces.
Wow. Yes. Anyone else who wants to take that next?
I can take it quickly. I agree wholeheartedly with Nicole. Can't speak. That essentially doing this work for 20 years, started in my 20s. I was chronologically an adult, but I didn't become a woman until I started doing this work with these children, and they have transformed my life and